Hey, what's up, fellas? How you doing? Man, Antonelli here. Today answering questions for you guys. Today's question is on meetings at the mound. I get this question a ton. What happens? What's being said? Why do they take place? Whether it's just the pitching coach and the pitcher, or the manager and the pitcher, or the whole infield comes in. What's being said. And so we're going to go over that today. First, there's a ton of different examples, right? So it really depends on the game situation and who the coach is and who the player is, right? They're going to all be handled very, very differently. So let's just try to get into as many examples as possible, because honestly, I've seen a ton of different meetings and they've all gone differently. And I could make a video probably 5 hours worth of all the stuff that I've heard in there. So let's start off with kind of the basics. I think first off, it really depends on the personality of the coach, the personality of the pitcher, right? So not every manager or coach is going to handle it the same way, depending on their personality, right? Some guys are super fired up. Some guys like to scream and yell. Some guys like to, hey, pat you on the back or on the butt. Some pitchers need to be yelled at. Some pitchers need to be kind of coddled and cared with kitten gloves, I think they call it. And so it really depends on the personality, right? Because some pitching coaches, a fiery pitching coach and a pitcher that's fiery and maybe likes to be kicked in the ass a little bit, like a coach may come out in that situation and say, hey man, what the F are you doing? Get your effing head out of your you-know-what, right? That's happened sometimes where guys just lay into pitchers. Some other pitching coaches have to come out if it's a different type of pitcher, right? Maybe you can't yell at the guy like that, and maybe you're going to come out and say, hey man, hey, here we go now, let's go. Stick with your good stuff here, a couple pats on the bat, some rub on the butt, a rub on the back, all positive stuff, and then they're going to head out, right? Because the pitcher may need that. Not everybody responds to being screamed at, just like not everyone responds to being patted on the back. Some guys like to be freaking torn into. Okay, so it really depends on the situation. I've seen both of them happen, right? And you'll see some coaches that are just kind of the way they're wired. Some coaches kind of always are in your face. Some coaches are always kind of patting you on the back. Some coaches are able to kind of see what type of personality the pitcher is and try to use what they think is going to help them the most in that situation, right? So you're going to see all types of different things. So again, one thing could be maybe it's just a mechanical thing, right? Sometimes they'll come out and say, hey man, you're getting around your slider, you're dropping your arm, you're doing this, you're doing that. Like I've heard coaches go over pitching mechanics with guys on the mound. Another thing could be just kind of approach-wise, or the pitch that they're using. Hey, let's try to use this pitch more. Hey, why are you using this pitch so many times? Let's go to this pitch. Hey, you're up in the zone. Let's try to work down the zone, or vice versa, right? So some of it is just mechanical stuff, approach stuff, how we're approaching guys. A lot of times late in games, a coach may come out, say we've got a certain situation, we got a hitter coming up, that we don't want to let him beat us, right? So we're not just going to intentionally walk him. Maybe the coach comes out there and says, hey, listen here, we're not going to let this guy beat us. Let's start him off with some breaking balls off the plate, right? Let's see if he chases. If he doesn't, then we'll put him on, right? So they may say that. Maybe they come out late in the game and say, hey, listen, go after this guy right now. We've got to get this guy. This is the guy we want. Let's get him right now, right? So again, situation stuff. How are we going to attack guys? Who are we going to attack? Again, because you can't really communicate that stuff from the dugout. You have to go out and really talk to them about it. So that's another thing. Let's see, what else? Sometimes they'll come out for defensive positioning. So sometimes they'll come out and say, hey, listen, we've probably got a bunt here, okay? Let's start off with an inside move to see if he shows bunt, or let's pick off, see if he shows bunt. If he does, this is the bunt play that we're going to run. Remember, I want you to be crashing hard. You've got to get the out at first base, or listen, we need to get the guy at third base here, so I really want you guys to pinch hard here, anticipate the bunt, anticipate going to the lead base. So, all that stuff happens, defensive positioning stuff. Or maybe it's not a bunt play or whatever. Maybe it's just, they come on and say, hey, they're probably going to have some type of action here. Look out for the hit and run, hold your ground. Or, maybe we've typically been playing the guy this way, but hey, let's play the guy to pull here and let's pound him inside with fastballs. Or we're going to throw him breaking balls, whatever. Okay, so all of that stuff, sometimes some of that scouting report stuff that we talk about beforehand, we may change some of that late in the game, or if it's a big point in the game, we're going to go out and talk about it out there, right? And so that stuff happens. Sometimes, maybe a pitcher's struggling or something, and the coach just comes out and says something kind of like totally off the wall. Like I've had pitching coaches that are like kind of goofy and really laid back, and they'll come out and say something like not related to baseball at all, like just like a joke to kind of get the pitcher to loosen up. Maybe it's a higher pressure situation or game, and they feel like he's playing a little too tight. Maybe they come out and just kind of joke around with the guy to get him to settle down a little bit, right? To take some of the pressure away. Sometimes they'll come out. If it's a really quick meeting, sometimes, the guy just needs a breather, right? Things are speeding up for him, and they just come out and literally just say, hey, man, just giving you a second here to take a breather. Take a deep breath here. Let's go right back at him. Gives him 5 seconds to rest, runs off the field, right? Sometimes I've seen coaches run out there and just stare at a guy and not say a word and just turn around and walk off the mound. Like I've literally seen 100,000 different things. And again, it really depends on the situation and who's doing the talking and who's doing the listening, who's pitching. But there's so many different things that you can talk about, and there's so many different ways to do it. But that's kind of how it works. So hopefully that gives you guys a little bit of insight and I tried to cover as many of the situations as I can. Thank you for the question. If you have more questions, leave them in the comment section below. Subscribe to the channel if you've not done so already. Give us a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate that. Share the video with all your friends. Check out our Instagram, Antonelli Baseball, our Twitter feed, Antonelli9. We're posting videos all the time for you guys. Check out the description box below. I've got a bunch of stuff for you guys to check out there that I think you will enjoy. And that's all I got, guys. Thanks again for watching. I appreciate it, and we'll talk to you later.